It's Lisa from Been There, Got Out. And I have been really looking forward to this Instagram Live with Rebecca Ishida. We met, I don't know, maybe like a few weeks ago on TikTok. And there she is.
Hi.
Hi, it worked.
Yes, I got it
All
right
right.
this time, Lisa.
I know. Let me adjust it so my head is not chopped off.
Okay.
Okay. So I was just saying, I just started and I was saying that I've been looking forward to this for weeks. I can't remember when we first met, but we met on TikTok
Right.
and you stood out to me. I don't even know how I stumbled on you, but you stood out because your story and the words lying by omission was a label that I have never heard used before. And it different details, but it so described my 20-year relationship marriage. And I was like, oh, I gotta get a hold of her. So I was so thrilled when you actually like answered my message and we connected and had our little Zoom intro.
Yes.
And I have to tell people that it almost felt like the beginning of a toxic relationship because I was like, this woman, like she's so awesome. Like we can be great friends. And I just met her once.
Totally. We are going to be great friends. There's no question about it. But you bond with people sometimes when you have those experiences, and we speak each other's language. So
Absolutely. Okay. So how about we have you share your story, the one that I saw you tell on TikTok, and then you can go a little bit into your background. And I absolutely want you to include that you do some stand-up comedy.
okay. So I'm Rebecca Ishida, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been licensed for over 20 years. And I will talk a little bit about that story. So what connected us was that video I did on emotional abuse. And it was basically speaking about lying by omission. And so I was in this relationship that was about 16 months and it was on and off. So it was on for about 5, and then he broke up with me. And then I got back together with him, which was my mistake. I own that. I own that part. And I got back and I sort of decided I'm going to try this again and trust this relationship. And we got back together and we're together for about 11 months. There was a lot of, because I've been through narcissistic abuse. Sorry about the dog.
That's okay.
Since I've been through narcissistic abuse, what I wanted to do was make sure it didn't get repeated in my future relationships. So I was married to a narcissist and I've dated narcissists. And so I'm highly skilled in this area, but I thought I'm going to go into this relationship and I'm going to look and make sure I'm not seeing the same things. He was very different than other narcissists that I've been with. So he was very, a covert, like humble, kind, shy, didn't seem like he love bombed me. So I was like, oh, this is a different character. But what happened in the relationship was a lot of avoidance. So a lot of keeping me at arm's length, sort of my always wondering why, there wasn't as much contact as I'd like. And so I was always like, but yet he presented very well. So at the end of this road trip we were on, that was like 10 days, lots of good times, just maybe sensing some avoidance from him, but literally like feeling like it was good, lots of I love yous, sex, all the things that you hope for in a nice relationship and in a trip. And at the end he said, I'm just not feeling what I feel I should feel at this point in the relationship. Now this is a relationship that was 16 months and on and off. And I had, little inklings of things, but you could never grasp, and he never shared with me. So for me, that's where the lying by omission comes in. Now, people all over TikTok and all the comments, there were a lot of very supportive comments, as you know, a lot of people who get it, and a lot of people that were like, look, he just didn't feel it for you. He didn't know, and he waited, and he wanted to share it at the right moment. He didn't want to hurt you, or whatever kind of the enablers and flying monkeys that came out around that. The truth of the matter is he knew exactly what he was doing. And I think what people fail to realize is like the intention is important behind the lying by omission, right? So his intention was to have power, have control, not allow me to make good decisions for myself. Had I known that information that like, hey, I'm not really feeling this, I would never have gone on a trip with him. I wouldn't have continued the relationship. I would have done things that would have maybe been hard for me, but I would have released it. And he put me in a position where I had no idea. So I couldn't make good decisions for myself. And that's what lying by omission does. It puts us in a it's also partly gaslighting. It's all those things that don't allow us to make the right decisions for ourselves because we don't have the information we need to make that decision.
Exactly. And that was my 20-year relationship, not realizing. And I put the question forth in this morning's Instagram post of, is it abuse if you don't know about it? And it is. Because when they hide things from us and it's all a lie, then we don't have the choice to decide, to continue in this fake life or not.
Exactly. And, the people that sort of like think, well, this is somebody who, just didn't know yet. No, it's like, it doesn't work that way. Now, listen, what did come out with the emotional abuse video, and some people who are survivors of narcissistic abuse or survivors of toxic relationships would say, well, I've lied by omission too. But the thing is, that is distinct. And it's really important to, separate those and define them differently. When you're lying by omission and your intention is power and control over the person you're lying to or omitting information from, that is very different than lying by omission because as a survivor or a victim, you will be punished if you tell the truth.
I'm so glad that you differentiated that.
And that's really important because a lot of times, if I were to say, for example, I needed to go to the store and buy something, but my ex, let's say my husband didn't approve or something, then what I might do is lie about it because the way that I'm protecting myself from, his wrath. You're protecting yourself from their wrath, and that's very different. That's self-protection. And the same goes with silent treatments, and no contact. When you're giving a silent treatment to someone, that's punishment. I'm meaning to punish you and hurt you and make you feel small and terrible. But when I'm doing no contact, that's self-protection. So they might look the same, but they're totally different intentions.
Yeah, that's really important.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you know it. I'm just still like taking it in. So let's talk a little bit. Well, you want to mention briefly before we start getting into the whole thing about today's topic, like your background and the stand-up comedy?
Yeah. So
I thought that was so intriguing.
Well, I mean, when I first started, there were two things I wanted to be. I wanted to be a therapist or I wanted to be an actress. And those were the two things I really enjoyed doing. I did stand-up comedy for quite a bit of time in my 20s. And then I was like, it's a hard life, comic and make it. So I went back to school and I got my master's in clinical psychology. And then from there, I, did all of my different internships at the Gay and Lesbian Center, at the YMCA, at all different places. And then later on, when I got older, in my 40s, I started doing comedy again. So a lot of my comedy speaks about toxic relationships and sex and love and all that kind of stuff. So it's really fun and cathartic. And and I follow all the HIPAA rules. I, don't disclose, clients, but it's fun. It's really fun. And it's a nice, way to like release just energy and like, it's also helpful to deal with just, trauma. Like when you release and tell your story in some way, it's really helpful to do that.
I know. And I feel like, we definitely can see a lot of humor.
Yes.
Especially being on the other side to some extent. And I always encourage humor. I find, most of our clients also appreciate humor when they can see it. And we have one client in particular that is so funny, but unfortunately, we always say you should do stand-up comedy, but she has a gag order. She's not allowed to say anything at all, which is so unfortunate because she's hysterical.
Oh my God.
But anyway. Well, I think it makes somebody more of a rich person in their career when they have a background in all different things that they can bring to the table,
I think that's why you and I do also the work that we do, because as survivors, we're relatable. We understand, and for people who haven't gone through narcissistic abuse or don't even know that they're going through it, I mean, it's hard to understand it. And a lot of times we understand it after the fact. We don't sometimes realize that someone's a narcissist till afterwards, or we might know they're toxic, but we might not put all of it together till later.
Right. And I think too, as victims of narcissistic abuse and coercive control, part of that is we lose our identities and we lose our sense of self. And hopefully, people like us and those who have gotten out of these relationships and thrived in the rest of our lives can show that there's all these creative elements that make up all of us, just not just us. I mean, I have like a big background in fashion and art, and I don't usually get into that too much, but it's important that people realize, like, whatever happened and they're coming out of it now. That's when we usually meet them, as they're coming out of the relationship and they feel like there's no future. Like, there's a huge, richer future than you can imagine. Right. And you're going to get yourself back with the right support. And you're going to get even more like benefits than you never, ever would have expected.
Right. And I mean, I'm so happy you connected to me, because what you offer is so vital for victims and survivors. This navigating the legal system, that is, it is so incredibly important. I was a little lucky with my divorce because my ex-husband decided just to like disappear. So it was like a default divorce. But the stories I hear about people navigating the system is horrendous. So this service, and I'm so happy that we're friends and that I now can tell people and send them your way, because what you offer is so vital, and it's such an important thing that I think is often overlooked. So.
Thanks. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know when I have been in it, well, I'm going into my 8th year starting in March of being in the legal system. But part of my thing with starting this legal abuse support group last year was like, I couldn't find anything, again, like my situation. So I figured I'd make it, and people don't understand the trauma that it's like, you've got the trauma of the narcissistic abuse and the toxic relationship, but then getting away from them and going into the court system is a whole new level of trauma, not including just post-separation abuse of parenting with them that comes throughout the process. So.
Right. Absolutely. And, and that takes all different forms too, because I know with my ex, this is my ex-husband. He, we had 2 kids, but it was sort of like, he was more of like just the abandoning type.
I can relate to that too.
I mean, honestly, I felt fortunate. I mean, a lot of people are like, why, I've heard people be like, well, why want he help? It's honestly, it brought me peace. As soon as I could adjust to the fact that I was a single full-time mom, it brought me peace to know he's just going to leave me alone. I'm ever going to get a like he was ordered to pay me, whatever amount of money, never, didn't. He owes me like, over $150,000, and I'll never see it.
Yep, that's me too. Yeah. But that's another thing I forgot that we had in common. Like, both of us are sole parents, meaning the other parent is not involved at all, in the kids' lives. And I agree with you. At the beginning of this whole process, I was like, well, who has it worse? Somebody who's the toxic parent is like really involved, or one where the parent has completely abandoned the kids. And now that it's been years and years for my kids, I know that I'm the lucky one that in my situation, he's completely, backed out, but I don't have to ask for anything. I mean, other than the money, that's what I'm still in court for, and he's going to have to pay. But, my situation and my partner's, Chris's, are completely opposite. Mine is gone. His is all the time.
Right. Really, when you do, and I know that you talk about this a lot in the work you do, it's like when you separate and then you divorce, and then there's the post or even the post-separation abuse. And then also when you're divorced, it's just another kind of relationship, right? So no, you're not intimate, you're not sharing memory, you're not doing these things as a unit, but it's just a different kind of relationship to the narcissist or the toxic individual. And they continue to do their thing, because a lot of times it's about narcissistic injury and you've left me or whatever it is, and I'm going to make sure I keep hurting you.
Right. Like, I need to destroy you because you've abandoned me and you've now exposed my failure as a partner. And so it's all your fault, and I'm going to destroy you.
Right. And oftentimes they will use the kids. And I think that that's a very difficult thing that I think almost came somehow naturally for me, because when I separated, it was in 2012. It was a long time ago, and there wasn't that much talk about narcissism per se, but like, you know, he was an addict and he was emotionally abusive. He was all of these different things. And I just remember thinking, how am I going to, you know, navigate this with my kids? And I really promote the idea of honesty and transparency, because what happens, you know, obviously you don't want to injure your children, but the truth is the truth. And, you know, if your kids are hidden and you're trying to be the bigger person, you know, all this kind of thing, a lot of times what you end up falling into is a parental alienation situation where the kids will align with a toxic person who still's doing all their stunts and all their things while you're being a bigger person and not like sort of identifying these behaviors or helping your kids navigate that. So
I know. That's a bit, I forgot, you know, Rebecca, like all this stuff is coming back from my illegible notes that we talked about. And we're going to be doing a TikTok live
yes,
because I know we're not going to finish this conversation. The stuff with the kids, that's like a whole other huge topic.
I'd love to talk. Yes, we're doing TikTok on, what day is that? We have
Tuesday. Chris, what day is Tuesday next week?
1:30 or something?
It's
The 22nd.
the 22nd. Yeah, Tuesday, February 22nd on your TikTok.
At 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Okay, so 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, but we'll get into that after.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, and there's so much to say, especially about the kids, but let's put that on the side because I really want to get into that. Maybe we can do that a lot on the TikTok live. But I want to talk about gaslighting. And I read an article yesterday that now gaslighting was used in the UK. It's been recognized as a type of abuse. It was used in a decision, which is like this huge deal now because having that judicial recognition now sets precedent in other cases. So tell us a little about gaslighting. I had said I couldn't read my notes. Did we say something about a test to tell if you're gaslighting or how to tell if you're being gaslit?
Well, I mean, with gaslighting, you know, it's basically somebody telling you what you've experienced or what you're feeling is untrue. So, you know, it could be used in so many ways, and it's a way to deceive. It's a way to throw you off. It's a way to make you feel like you doubt your own reality. So, you know, like the basic ones that we like, if we were to say like, you know, like you're having an argument with someone and you tell someone this big thing and they're like, you never told me that, or you know, or I never said that to you. What are you talking about? You're crazy. And you twist it and turn it on someone. What you're using in conjunction with gaslighting is blame shifting. So they're never accountable. They're never at fault. You're crazy. What is wrong with you? And then what happens is it shifts you to not focus on them, but then start to doubt yourself. And it's a way to emotionally manipulate. And gaslighting is something that's used in so many different types of abuse. And one of the ones I know we were going to touch upon today was compulsive sexual behavior, you know, sex addiction, and gaslighting is used. Absolutely. It has to be used if you're going to, you know, be good at, you know, getting things over on your partner. So,
I was wondering if you've ever heard the term, because I know we did a workshop on it on our Sanity School on our website a while ago, but the term self-gaslighting.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I think that's something that, you know, happens when we, why is there's like a line in my, it's interesting. Do you set a line across the thing for me?
No.
Okay. But what it is with gaslighting is, self-gaslighting is if you are gaslighted, right? And then what happens is you then sort of, it's in combination sort of with abuse amnesia. It's almost like you're forgetting, you romanticize the relationship, and you start to sort of like minimize your experience of them.
We see that all the time.
All the
minimizing.
time. Doubt yourself. And you're like, was it that bad? Really?
Oh, there you go. There's the question.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't that bad.
Right. And that's why it's so important, I think, for us as victims. And I didn't do a great job at this because sometimes maybe I didn't even know I was going through it. But if you're feeling these feelings, you don't have to, first of all, diagnose someone as a narcissist. Someone can be an asshole, toxic. They can have other cluster B, you know, traits. They don't have to be diagnosable for you to go, oh, okay, wait, they're not a narcissist, I don't have to leave. No, you don't need the full criteria to know that something's unhealthy or toxic. So with the self-gaslighting, it's really difficult because it can really prevent you from leaving a situation that is toxic. You tell a story, you know, and then maybe in combination with all the other things, which is like, if there's like a, you know, a financial issue to leave, if you don't have a lot of familial support or friend support, you know, sometimes you start to tell yourself, well, maybe it's not so bad, and it allows us to stay longer. I stayed way too long in my marriage, you know, and have stayed too long in relationships because I'm just so want something to work.
Oh yeah, that's all of us.
Yeah.
And we blame ourselves, like I should have known better. And then other people say, you of all people, we were just talking about this with a client yesterday, like really successful people in particular, you know, their friends or family will say, well, you of all people, like I would think, you know, you're smarter than that.
Oh, listen, Lisa, I get that all the time. I'm sure you do. I get that all the time. Wait, I'm not to be rude, but aren't you a therapist? It's like,
right?
I'm also a human being, you know? Maybe what that does, and this is not to like lift myself up, it's like maybe it's also to show you how amazingly manipulative someone can be.
Exactly.
The knowledge you have, and even with recognizing what red flags are, you can still make shit choices for yourself and unwittingly, and the love bombing and what that does, and it's intoxicating, and all the dopamine and all the yumminess that goes along, and oxytocin, everything that makes you fall for someone, and then all of a sudden they start to devalue you. You don't trust the devaluing. You don't trust.
Right. And your brain chemistry has changed.
Yes.
It's not like you have some kind of power over a lot of this.
Yeah, exactly. No, you don't. And then that's when the questioning goes on. And when you're in a state of confusion, I mean, I think that once, you know, when you're in something healthier, you're in a healthy relationship, you can step back and go, wow, wait a second. I was always confused. I was sort of waiting for things. My favorite is waiting for things to get better. That was my all-time good thing that I did. I just wait. Well, maybe it'll be better tomorrow. It'll be better tomorrow. Oh, wait, he showed a little of that. Oh, it's going to be okay. And I would tell myself a story that would allow me to stay. You know, we do that as codependents. We do that as, you know, anxiously attached people. We will often do that. So.
Oh my God. Absolutely. I mean, my partner often says that, you know, you wait for the good old days to return. And then later you realize there really were no good old days. There were just less bad days. He's making
I was just typing that. I just put that in the chat.
There he is, right there.
I'm not talking to you guys about these comments. I mean, we're on a roll talking, but thank you, everyone.
There he is.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you. Oh my God.
Yeah, he's over there like fielding the question because
I'm not answering any of these. So I'm sorry, you guys, on this end that I'm not.
I know it always happens. It always happens. They can send questions later, and then we can do it for the TikTok.
And also, by the way, that's great. And also, they want us to. Someone mentioned they want us to save the live so that it's available to them.
Always. I always. This is being recorded, and we always post it right on our feed. And then one of these months, we're going to get a social media person, other than my son when he has time in college, to get little sound bites. So we'll deal with it.
Right.
It's being preserved.
Yeah, right. And someone said here, the waiting, that was totally one of the worst patterns. Like, what is it that you're waiting for? You know what I mean? And it's a feeling, and you know, in some strange way, I remember let me speak for myself, it became almost a little indulgent. It's like the waiting, it's like almost like this sick sort of melancholy indulgence, like that it was a little twisted on my part. That was the twistedness on my part, is sort of and the longing. There was something strangely, this is going to sound twisted, a little romantic about it. Like, if I can wait for you to sort of be there for me and love me in the way I hope you'll love me, and then if I actually get it, oh, I'm victorious, right?
Well, the drama.
Yes.
I mean, that's human too. Like, we get addicted to the drama. And I know with some of our clients too, you know, because we have clients that are dealing with legal, but there's all kinds of ripple effects from that, especially when they're still having to communicate with the person. And, you know, a lot of times these toxic people will harass and send messages all the time. And there's a lot of knee-jerk reactions. And we have to tell some of our clients, like, you have to think that it's almost like you're an addict.
Yeah.
You know, and realize that in yourself, and know that you're addicted to this drama still. And we have to kind of like tone it down. You have to wait. Like, we work with them to like delay.
I love that, because what you're addressing, and this is vital, is the behavior changes that we need to make as victims and survivors, right? So I am loud. I will be confrontational. I mean, that was the way that I was, and it never got me anywhere, you know, to sort of call things out or mention things. It was like, what I would do is react and not act, right? So reacting, being loud, being big, saying things like, this isn't okay, you can't treat me this way. And then the not acting, which was staying right there. Now, I'm not speaking for people who have severe domestic violence. If you do, you need to make a plan. You know, there has to be a plan to get out. A lot of people are in physically violent relationships. There has to be like a PO box, a separate bank account, you know, having a bag that an escape bag, maybe leaving things in security boxes like vital documents. There, you have to line everything up. I'm not just suggesting someone just leaves, you know, you have to sometimes have a plan. For other relationships like mine was safe to leave, physically safe. But it, you know, he later went on to have many actually domestic violence arrests, but he didn't get arrested with me. So I'll just say,
yeah, we know it escalates. But back to the thing with the responses, yeah, like we actually, with our clients, we came up with this concept of the permission slip, where they have to, like, we said, you get it out, like, get out what you feel, like, put it down in writing, send it to us first, and you have to wait to get a permission slip from us. You cannot send it. Don't send it. You know, they don't have to like pay extra. It's for all of our coaching clients. Like, just you have to wait. Like, you have to also train yourself. And they'll be like sending stuff like, I really want to send, and we're just like, you're not allowed to. Like, sometimes you need another authority to say like, no.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I love that. A couple people here are saying they just had to run with just the clothes on their back. He hurt our daughter. I didn't have time to plan. I 100% understand that and agree. You know, in terms, and, you know, people are asking about whether the abuse should be ignored or if it should be reported. Now, with certain abuse, I do think it should be reported, right? But like, there's the nuances of emotional abuse. It's kind of hard to be like, so let me just tell you what my partner just did. He lied by omission, and you can't, like, some of these things are not going to be reportable, right?
Right. So, I mean, for us, I think in the legal system, you know, people say emotional abuse is impossible to prove, but it's not. I mean, you know, the whole concept of coercive control includes patterns of behavior over time. It's not singular incidents. So you really have to build a case, and it's not just what someone did, it's how it affected, especially in custody, how did it affect the children?
Exactly.
You know, it can't just be like between the two of you. It depends. And it has to do with the restraining order. But that's a whole other topic.
Right. Which I would love to, because I definitely feel like this is something that you can help with. That when you're, you know, if you're talking to an attorney, you're billing up all of these hours with an attorney when you're going to the wrong person to help you navigate that. And you're the right person to do that. So I think this is a very important thing. And I'm so excited that I know about this now.
I know. This is going to be the first of many collaborations, Rebecca. Okay, let's talk about why people defend abusers.
Oh, geez.
What, and do you think they know they're actually defending abusers? Like, tell us a little bit about social media, et cetera, with that.
You know, at times I think they might know they are, but a lot of times for a lot of people, it's, if I don't see it, it didn't happen, right? So, you know, if somebody didn't experience, you know, like my ex-husband in a certain way, I mean, ultimately everyone saw it because it just came spilling out and got so messy. But like, you know, in the beginning it was like, oh, but he seems like such a nice guy. Oh, he did that to me. You know, when you have experienced abuse, you know, a lot of that is with intimacy comes a lot of crap comes out because a lot of people can't handle intimacy. and and can't do it, and are so insecure and have no real stable sense of self, they can't do intimacy. And so behind closed doors, what you're going to see is something quite different than what you're going to see publicly. So people who don't see it, they're not going to believe it sometimes. Those people also maybe are in situations themselves where
Right.
their denial serves them to stay in their situation, or their denial serves them to not recognize their own abusive nature. So it can be a variety of things, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And you think about how when somebody, often people that we don't like are showing our own traits that we don't like about ourselves,
Yes.
and how, so it's like someone hearing a situation that maybe makes them uncomfortable because there's something that they're burying in their own life that, it's uncomfortable for a lot of people. And I think also we find too, again, back to the legal system, is people innately believe that in the idea of justice. And when you're telling them what you're going through, they can't believe that someone would behave that way.
Right.
And just like with your kid's father and mine, where they're like, oh, but he's their father. Why would somebody do that to their kids?
Right.
But they must love their kids, and but they don't.
No.
They really don't.
I don't know. The whys don't matter. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? I think that's the thing too. Whys don't really matter. It's just what are you seeing? And the truth is, a lot of this stuff is mind blowing. Like in the end, I never expected my ex to like literally have no contact with the children at all. Like
Same.
I've
Never.
for 5 years. I don't even know where he is. So I have no idea where he even is. So
Yeah.
I think people don't understand how destructive narcissism is, narcissistic abuse, and as well as it can be in combination with other things, right? Like untreated mental illness and so forth. Now, there is no excuse for abuse whatsoever, even if someone is mentally ill. There's no excuse for it. And also, mental illness does not make you abusive. The person
Exactly
makes you abusive. That's the abusive piece. It's not, I'm mentally ill, and so therefore I abuse. It doesn't work that way. And I think
also being traumatized as a child.
Yes. Oh,
that's
right.
not an excuse.
That's not an excuse either. Look, and trauma, and I've said this before, and I've heard this before, trauma is not your fault. Healing is your responsibility. So there's no excuse just because you've had a narcissistic father or an alcoholic father or mother or whatever it is, family. Like, the bottom line is, it is your responsibility to manage, to self-regulate, and to, do things differently than maybe you got them. And that's what I think, you and I try to do. Maybe we've experienced certain things in our lives that maybe have made us the codependents we are. Maybe you're not codependent. I know I'm a recovering codependent. So, but that's something that is really challenging, because yes, these people have been traumatized, but it doesn't give them any right to traumatize others. So.
Yeah. All right, now let's talk. I want to talk about the double life thing, because I know we also have that with our exes in common, that they comfortably lived a double life.
Yes.
How do people do that? I remember saying to my ex, like, what did you think would happen? Like, when I found out that for 20 years, you'd been doing all this other stuff, and he said, I just never thought you were going to find out.
Yeah.
No conscience, like nothing, no remorse, nothing.
No, it's really quite amazing. So I've done a lot of work with hypersexuality, compulsive sexual behavior. A lot of people don't use the term sex addiction, but I think I'll just use it just for the sake of using it here. It's just easier. But I worked in the field for a number of years. And so without even knowing, I was actually working with narcissistic, abuse. It just wasn't called that at the time I was doing it. It was like before the 2000, was it? No, it was like in the very early 2000s. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So what people do with compulsive sexual behavior is, look, sex is supply. And so, because sex is supply, narcissism and compulsive sexual behavior go hand in hand. They really do. So if let's just say that I'm the sex addict. It'll be easier to describe it that way. If I'm the sex addict, what I can easily do is say my bag is, porn and compulsive masturbation to porn. Maybe I'm seeking out affairs, or I'm seeking out prostitutes, and I'm doing all of these things. And what I'm going to do is make sure that I'm keeping secrets and lies. Because if I'm keeping secrets and lies from you, Lisa, you're my partner, then what I'm doing is I am keeping you in the dark. So once again, that's the emotional abuse we talked about, and the gaslighting. I'm keeping you in the dark. You don't know. I have my life over here that includes all of my compulsive sexual behavior. And then I come home to you, and they are separate. They do not touch.
Oh,
You know, and
exactly.
and the thing is, because you know you are narcissistic, and you are compulsively you know, sexual, and that is the thing that is more important than anything. I will make sure I get that, and you won't find out. And that is really, and you know, the way that people end up finding out is maybe they get an STD, or maybe they find something on someone's phone or whatever. And when they do, that's where gaslighting really ramps up. Because if I find something on my phone, Lisa, and you know, I know you've been chatting with someone, or you've been trying to set up, like, you know, a sex date or whatever, like, and I call you out, you're going to turn it on me. As the narcissist and sex addict, you're going to turn it on me and tell me that I'm crazy. And what are you saying? And why the hell are you going through my phone?
That would be the first thing I would say, knowing from experience. Like, you are in my phone. How dare you, you know,
Yes, we are
my
recording.
privacy.
Everyone's asking if we're recording it. So we are. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll put it on mine too, but you'll put it on yours as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing that absolutely they will do, and they'll turn it on you. And that's when the self-gaslighting comes in. Well, maybe I'm making too much of it. I mean, this is their coworker. I mean, maybe they're just, you know, working on something, whatever you tell yourself. And
Right. Or like, oh, what, maybe I'm just jealous and suspicious for no reason. I mean, you know, and again, you've already given your authority to this person. You believe them. And people say, well, why didn't you question it? Because it's our partner or our husband or our wife. Like, why would we question?
I mean, and I think that's the part that really is so frustrating, is that somehow it becomes about, well, why didn't you this, or why didn't you that, like, to the victim. And it's like, look, what we enter into in a relationship, and what we hope that it's going to be, whether it's verbal or nonverbal, is, hey, I trust you. I've got your back. I love you. I want all of these things in our relationship. Are we on the same page? And once that stuff has been established, and you believe you trust someone, you don't go around questioning them all the time about their behavior, because you have a foundation, hopefully, of trust. And so if I'm going to sit there, ask you constantly, what are you doing, and watching over you, then I'm becoming controlling. And then it's about, then obviously there's a lack of trust if I'm doing that. So if we want to sort of, what do healthy relationships look like? And part of what that looks like is, I trust you. So I don't have to ask you, you know, are you know, screwing someone on the side? Like, I don't have, and plus, if I even asked you that and you were, it's not like you would tell me.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So they basically just do that compartmentalization, which to me, it's just unfathomable. Like, I don't understand. I mean, I know you just explained it, but it's hard to imagine that so many people can live this way, that they can just put their life in a box here and their other thing is over here. And
right. And because when you think about it too, what's tied to that as well is adulation, is attention. And one of the big things, I don't know if we've talked about that much, is novelty. Like, if you,
oh yes, well that's my next question. Well, one of them.
Yeah.
Let's talk about novelty. Let's talk about why, even you know, with the sex addiction, because so many people are interested in that part too. Like, why, if we have this, if I'm this wonderful person and I do everything that the other person wants, why would they still cheat on me?
Right. Okay. So, because it has nothing to do, and I want everyone to hear this loud and clear for people that are victims of this or survivors of this, because it's nothing to do with you. Their addiction, their behavior has nothing to do with what you do or what you don't do. And I've seen this across the board. I mean, look, do people have bad relationships and get cheated on? Sure. You know, do people have, you know, good relationships and there's the sex addiction is rampant? Absolutely. It has nothing to do with what you are or aren't, or what you give or don't. And I think that is very hard for us to understand, because I spent a number of years thinking, if I love the shit out of this person, they are going to give it back to me. All right.
Yep. Yep.
Sorry, was I not supposed to say shit?
No. I said, me too. Me too. No, you can say whatever you want. we always preface like every meeting, like especially our legal abuse support groups, like you are allowed to, what is it, Chris? You can curse, no apologies for crying, cursing,
kids, and barking animals.
Crying, cursing, kids, and barking animals.
Okay, so I haven't cried yet. I don't know if I will today. So we're good.
All right. So, okay. So novelty, you start talking about novelty and adulation, like keep talking about that.
Okay. So with, the thing is, if you're my partner and you are wonderful to me and you're giving me all the goods and all of that, and we even have a good sex life, that also doesn't matter.
See, that's the part that's crazy. Because it's like, if we have this amazing sex life, like, why are you cheating? And a lot of times people saying they're cheating with someone disgusting.
Yeah. Yes. Right. So because what it is like the crap gets boring, right? Like for somebody who is compulsively sexual, it's boring. And so while it's not about deepening intimacy. Now that's what you hopefully are going to get with a nice, lovely relationship, and a good sexual relationship is the deepening of the intimacy and the idea of exploration and fun. And it can even get better and better when you're with your partner. I'm speaking of monogamous relationships. There are a lot of polyamorous relationships out there too. And, and that's if I'm speaking about like monogamy. So you can get that with deepening intimacy. But if you think about the narcissist, you think about the person that's compulsively sexually acting out, they're not interested in intimacy. They have a deep fear of intimacy. So that doesn't even appeal to them.
Are they even capable of intimacy?
It's limited. I've seen people do some work and some recovery, and you do see them improving. People can change attachment styles. They can get better and they can lean more secure. There's no cure for narcissism, and there's no sex addiction, but it's like a daily practice. And it's also about being open and transparent with your partner. So can it improve? Yes. Are they going to be as empathic as you and I? No, that's not going to happen. A lot of it is about trying to stay away from that behavior, that they're still going to have those cravings and they still may relapse. So, for them, it's this thing of like the novelty, what that gives me, it gives me a hit of dopamine. It gives me a hit of oxytocin, and it feels damn good. And, you over and over again, having sex with you, I know what this is. I know what it's going to be. And you know what? It doesn't really appeal to me because I don't think the way you think. So that's the way that it works with somebody who's compulsively sexual. The novelty, the newness, like if I can just, I once went on this date with this guy. This is really funny. And this is exactly what, first of all, I immediately knew that he was a narcissist, because when I went out with him, he started talking to me about this book he had read. I don't know what the book was, about how these bulls will have sex with cows. But the first time they have sex with the cow, it's fantastic. And they're so into it. But they tend to not ever really want to return to that next cow, to the cow they already had. And he was talking to me about this, like relating this to his life. And I'm like, okay, this is where I run. One day, am I the cow in this scenario? But basically the novelty of sex is exciting for someone who is compulsively sexual, because it's new and this person is different, and they can get this new person to say how amazing they are in bed or how good they are, or and it's a new experience. And so you telling me over and over again, I fucking heard it 1,000 times before, it doesn't land on me the same way.
This resonates so much with me. I have a feeling with a lot of other people too. And that novelty, my ex, like I can't say how, but publicly, but let's just say I discovered, like, from when I first moved in with him, we were together for 20 years. He was constantly soliciting other women through these ads. And I saw the ads and I was like, why? Because he completely played the role, the entire relationship. He's also covert of someone that was very content, happy,
yes.
Just fine. But I sensed, like even when we'd go to parties together, he always wanted the novelty of like talking. He was like, oh, I just like women, it's nothing. It's like, I'm not interested in that with them. Of course he was, but that feeling of people like admiring him or adoring him.
Yes.
You know, like always needing to feel like adored. And that's something too that we talk to our clients about, again, not necessarily legal issues, but with narcissists, as they, you know, even when they're with their new supply, like a lot of times it doesn't last. Like people think, well, now this person's changed and look like they're so happy with their new person. What about me? And I'm like, it's that
Oh, they haven't changed. What have they done?
right.
There's no magic wand. And unless you're doing like deep, intensive attachment, work and really being honest, and you're a self-aware narcissist, it's really, there's no change. And the new supply, I mean, we worry about that so much, and that's
No.
me. Like, I had an ex that got married, and God, I've dated the best men in the world. I had an ex that, married someone in less than 8 months after he broke up with me. And she was the total 100% opposite of me. And it was so mind blowing to me. And I was devastated. And I think what we fail to realize is everyone gets the cycle. Everyone. Yeah. So the way that they love bombed you, I mean, in many ways, we were the new supply when we were with them. Right. So we got love bombed. We got presented all over social media, all of those things, or maybe we didn't. It depends. And then what happens with the new supply is we end up thinking they're getting everything. We got that too. It's
Always. That's what everybody thinks. Every single person pretty much that we talk to.
Yeah. It's coming. Devaluing is coming for them too. Not that you wish that on anyone, but these people have not made big changes. They are like, they are like buckets with holes in them. It's never enough. And a lot of people have made comments too about how the sex does change. Yes, it can oftentimes, it doesn't mean you have a great sexual relationship and they're doing this. Sometimes they start to withhold from you. A lot of people have this Madonna whore complex where it's like, you're the mother of my children, and so you're a mom, you're not a sexual being. They don't see you as all those things. And so they may start to compartmentalize those things as well. You become the untouchable one, and like, I withhold sex from you and I get it elsewhere. That's a very common thing too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, Rebecca, there's like so much to say, and I'm looking at my other questions, and I'm thinking like there was something we said about, but I don't remember what we talked about with messy.
Yeah.
You remember saying something about messy?
God, it's so funny. I was looking at the notes and I was like, what did I say that was messy?
Well, a lot of them are messy, but we can move on to the next one. Like I'm thinking, we also talked about as they, when they've devalued you and possibly on the edge of a discard, how they say things also afterward of like, I hope you find what you're looking for. Like let's get into some of those lines that we hear that we're just like, what?
Oh my God. I mean, it's so, I think what's hopefully people can see is I am laughing now. I'm laughing now. You can get here. You can get to this place where it doesn't hurt so much. I promise you.
Yes. Thank you.
The feeling, like when you're in it and when you're living this pain, the pain is so torturous. You cannot imagine that you will feel better. And I'm here to say you absolutely can.
Me too.
And you feel
too.
better.
And my partner, Chris, keeps like slipping. I keep seeing comments like, I'm Lisa's partner. Like, yeah, he's my business partner, but we're also a couple in real life for almost 7 years. So
he is adorable. You are, because when you find something, after narcissistic abuse, when you do find something that actually works, and people are scared to do this because of complex post-traumatic stress disorder, whatever. When you find something that works, it really does. It just is. Oh. It's not painful. Love is not pain. Love is not suffering. The truth is we really don't even love these people. We think we do, but we love what they present.
I know. And that's a whole other thing, because I also felt like I never actually was attracted to him. And I don't know if I ever really loved him, other than that we were together so long and had these kids together in this life. And I just assumed that I loved him, but
yeah.
Like you said with the avoidant thing, from the very beginning, it was always like, I didn't really know him and I always suspected something, it was like.
Yeah, no. And it's so painful. So some of the things like, one of them, that I heard, was, I'm sorry you're hurt, which that's one of my favorites, because, that's not an apology. You're just saying, I'm sorry. It's not, I'm sorry I hurt you or devastated you. I'm sorry you are hurt. I'm sorry that you're having that feeling over there. That has nothing to do with me. You Deserve Better is one of my favorites.
Oh
Because,
yeah, they're telling you that you
yeah,
deserve better
yeah,
than them. Like, oh, how humble.
yes.
Oh, how empathic of you.
Exactly. Yeah, You Deserve Better. Basically, that's the translation is I'm not be better. I'm just going to go on to the next victim and see if I can get what I need there. You know, or you know, oh, I'm so broken. I need time on my own. I need time for myself to,
Yeah.
you know, my ex did that, and then about 5 minutes later was in a relationship, or I think he was already in one. You know, but that's what I mean. I think those sort of things are. It's further gaslighting. It's furthering this way of making you feel like terrible and questioning what is wrong with you. And we do that a
Yeah.
lot. What's wrong with me? Why don't they want me? God, you're so lucky they don't want you anymore. We don't till later.
Thank you. Yes.
So lucky that they don't want us. You know.
I know. I know. You just made me think of a line I haven't thought about in so many years where my ex said, you know, I know you're a good person. What is that?
Because I'm not one. I'm not a good person. That's what he was saying. Because
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So Chris is passing me questions that, you know, people have been sending that are flying by. Can you talk more about narcissists calling you a narcissist during the devalue stage, which is super common? I'm sure you've heard it a lot before, and we have as well.
And by the way, Rebecca, sorry for bombing your little interview here. That is how I found out what I was dealing with, because I knew she projected for many years.
Oh, okay.
And right at the end, she called me a narcissist. So I said, I better look up what that is. I found the Wikipedia article, and it blew my mind. I was like, check, 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 like all the boxes.
Oh my gosh. No, absolutely. And they absolutely do that. They project, you know, the qualities that they have, they will tell you have. That is absolutely happens. And as people who are empathic, right? Chris, you, me, when we hear something like that, what do? We actually take it in, and we wonder. Now they don't, because you know, it's like a brick wall with them. Nothing penetrates. But with us, we start to question, and that's a way to also shift the focus. It's a way.
Exactly.
And you know, if I start to like wonder, well, am I? Did I? You know, then it gets them time. It gets us off their back, and that's what they want, right?
I love that you just said it. It gets us off their back.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're making me think of all these things I haven't thought about in a long time. And one is that at the end of our marriage, my ex, I don't know what this was for, but he used to be like, you know what, Lisa, you're the abuser. And he'd say, hold my hands and say it with me. Say, I'm an abuser. I was like,
whoa,
what?
whoa.
Like, but I was like, am I an abuser? And I like was going through like everything, thinking like all my relationships in my life. Like, no one's ever called me an abuser. Like, yeah, I get mad and I yell sometimes, but no one's ever called me abusive.
That's a mind fuck right there.
Tell me about it. At least I knew I wasn't. I didn't say it with him.
Yeah, that is awful. Oh my gosh, that's like crazy making, like psychological.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's like even beyond emotional abuse. It's like trying to indoctrinate into you. It's almost like the way that, you know, cults will, you know, train people. It's like, say it with me, you know.
I know.
Let's
I know. And he used to, and I'm not a drinker. Like, I'm an athlete and really into fitness. And he would be like, you have a problem because you don't drink. So I think what we need to do is have you drink like a big thing of wine every night to like calm you down.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there also is that abuse too, that was to try to keep you quiet. I mean, this is what the emotional abuse does too. If I can, you know, get you to not like yourself so much, if I can get you to doubt yourself, then I have you under my thumb.
Oh, yes, exactly.
I get to do whatever I want to do, and you're going to keep questioning yourself. And if I make you feel small, if I make it so that you kind of lose parts of yourself, I weaken you and I weaken your position, and I get you not to stray and not to ask too many questions. And that's what it's about, you know.
Yeah.
It's about power and control.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So I'm like, I don't even know what else to say.
keep going for a little, but I don't know if your time is limited. I can go for a while, so it's up to you.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah.
I'm like,
People are loving it.
yeah, I know, Rebecca, like people are indeed loving this and saying this is like one of the best ones ever. Like, please, please,
Yay.
please record it. Somebody had asked if we could talk a little bit more about ongoing emotional abuse, like any other kinds. I mean, do you want to get into that?
Yeah.
So much.
Right. Well, there's the lying, there's the lying by omission, there's the compartmentalization, there's stonewalling. I mean, when people, when you try to bring a conversation to somebody and they literally just ignore you or walk out of the room, or, oftentimes I would bring conversation to an ex and it was like, oh, here we go again. You're always having to talk about everything. What is that? What is that about? And it's about, flipping the script is a very common thing. The silent treatments, not following through on things you say you're going to do. The mood swings, today I love you, tomorrow, you're crap, the splitting is very emotionally abusive, which splitting is when you idealize somebody and they're the best thing in the world. And then the next day that you devalue them completely and there's no in between.
Yeah. I'm wondering, do you know anything about intermittent reinforcement?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So what that absolutely happens also with the trauma bond, which is also
Right.
abusive. So if I love bomb you and you fall for me and we are in a relationship and then I start to drop in the devaluing, and remember, it's like a slow boil. It's like a frog. You don't throw the frog in hot water, it'll fly out or try to jump out. It's a slow boil. So it starts slow. And it's what happens is when I start to devalue you and I've already gotten you where I've got you in my grasp, right? What then is the person who's experiencing that emotional abuse, that trauma bond that is forming, will start to question whether it's even real. You'll have this cognitive dissonance. So it's basically like, I know you as a wonderful person, as a good person. This doesn't match with that. So what I'm going to believe is I will write off this bad behavior, write off what you're doing, because it doesn't match with the bigger idea in my mind, which is you are fantastic, right? So what I will do is I will question myself. And then when I'm hit again with the intermittent reinforcement of love dosing, love bombing, which is not a one-time thing. It's peppered throughout the cycle. If I'm hit with that, then I once again go, oh, and I feel like I've won the jackpot. Like, it could be a small thing. My ex-husband would get mad at me. He punched a wall next to my head, which is very threatening and scary and considered really physical abuse, right? Because it's like the threat of physical abuse.
Right.
And I remember being terrified, thinking, I have to get out of this. I have to get out of this, looping and saying this to myself, which I'm sure people have done. And then 10 minutes later, hey, baby, you want to make some dinner? And literally I was right back in it. That's all he had to do, was say one nice thing to me. And that's really, really scary. And that's the way they get you with this intermittent reinforcement. And they can sense when you're straying, they can sense when you're scanning, they can sense all those things, and they know when to drop it in and be nice again, just to hold on to just a little longer.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote a blog on it a while ago, and I was doing, with a lot of the blogs, I'll do research on that kind of thing, on the subject. And something I had read is that intermittent reinforcement is one of the most powerful forms of manipulation.
100%.
Because it does, again, hook your brain chemistry into it, and you keep waiting for that next hit of dopamine. Like, if I just do this, like, I just want to get back a little,
right?
Like, I just want the person to be nice to me. And if I try this, maybe if I try that.
Absolutely. And sex is used in a similar way. Because if I'm someone who likes intimacy and closeness and I like to have sex and you have sex with me, I can tell myself a story too. And that can be intermittent reinforcement. Oh, this person is into me. They do love me. Oh, everything's okay. That can be also served as intermittent reinforcement as well. So
yeah. And the things that you just said, I'm going to reveal a little more. And I'm like, Chris is sending me all these questions and I have notes, but yeah, at the end of my marriage, I didn't realize that my ex, of course, had a number of affairs, but he had occasionally said through all of our years together, like out of the blue, acting like everything was fine, I'm not happy in this relationship. And if you don't do this, then I'm going to leave. And it would be like, out of nowhere. So a couple of years before we actually split, he said that, and he said, you know, I'm really unhappy. And if you don't have sex with me exactly the way I like it for 3 weeks straight, every single day, the way I want, then I'm going to think about flirting with other people. And it was just like,
Ooh. Ooh, Lisa, God, this stuff is
yeah,
awful.
yeah, yeah. And I did it. I did it because I was like, we have these kids and I'll do anything to keep this relationship together. And I don't know why he's so unhappy. And he always used to say, you know, we're a couple. And if I'm unhappy, it's because of you, because we're responsible for each other's happiness. I mean, again, we got together when I was very young. This was 20 years of this sort of stuff.
Yeah. Wow. That is incredibly controlling, incredibly abusive. And not only that, but with some, I mean, isn't it amazing when you think about it?
Yeah.
What you say, just that right there to me completely broke the relationship. I mean, I don't think anyone can go back from something so disgusting. I mean, that is absolutely, he could never really regain any trust there. I mean, that is so sickening, because really what it's saying is you are some kind of object there to just please him.
Oh, well, yeah.
I mean, it's so painful to hear, because you realize what we try to do and what we try to bring to a relationship, if we're healthy people and want intimacy and love, that is absolutely so foreign to hear someone say that. It just feels like crazy making. But at the time, because you want to keep a family together and you want to keep a connection, you will oftentimes do those things. That coercion, it absolutely works. And
Yeah.
so terrifying and so painful, because how do you ever feel safe with someone who puts that to you? I mean, it's so hard, and you're always then trying to regain a sense of safety in your relationship.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is such a rich topic. Okay, so I'm getting like more questions.
Okay.
I'm sorry to keep you on so long, Rebecca, but this is
Fine.
fascinating. And again, everyone who didn't know, we are going to continue our little collaboration on TikTok on Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, which is our time.
Yes.
So Rebecca's in California, we're in New York, opposite coasts. Okay. And a lot of what we had said right before that with the cognitive dissonance was, you know, often we'll be like, well, like you said, we excuse the bad behavior because we think, you know, I love you, you're my partner, you're a good person. And I know even when I went after all of this crap, getting to my divorce attorney and telling him the situation, you know, within a 20-minute consult, he said, you're going to have a really bad divorce. You're going to be one of the I didn't know the word high conflict then. Now, nearly 8 years in the legal system, you think about the power dynamic of that relationship continuing through the courts. And but I remember saying to my attorney, who we're still friendly, you know, but he's really a good guy. He's just done some bad things. And I look back and it's like, well, what if someone's done so many bad things, then what is a bad person?
Right.
You know, like, why am I still thinking he's good? And that's what we do. We're, again, like what you said, we just get conditioned. We just hand over I know I handed over a lot of my judgment to him as well.
Yes.
Like I trusted him more than I trusted myself.
Absolutely. And I think that the cognitive dissonance, what it really does too, it works a lot in conjunction with our trauma responses. So, you know, as a codependent, you know, my biggest trauma response was fawning. You know, when I would try to appease things, I try to make them better. I try to, like, if I do all of these things and I'm caretaking and all the things that go with codependency and with fawning, then maybe I can make this work. And I spent a lot of years doing that. And, you know, you think about like how, in a way, that is also the self-gaslighting. It's like thinking that I actually had the power to make things better, you know? And I absolutely didn't, because you can't change people. It's the three C's of addiction. You didn't cause it. We know that we didn't cause it in them. They came to us ready-made this way. You can't control it. And because look, we've tried. Our ways of controlling were more like, let me make this better. Let me fix things. Let me make sure everyone's happy, and let me not rock the boat. Let me try to like create a good home for my family. Those were the ways we tried to control. That's very different than their controlling. right?
Mhm.
That's like manipulation. And then we can't cure it. We can't cure this, you know, and I think we've often tried though, you know.
And that's one of the most popular questions that we get from people that are still like really immersed in the toxic relationship, where they're like, but maybe they can change. Do you think this person is capable of changing? And I think they're really saying, what can I do to change this person?
Absolutely. I mean, that is the biggest question I think that we get, right? Is will this person change? And because what that speaks to is, I think, our addiction to hope. You know,
Yeah,
I was addicted to hope.
me too.
There are the possibilities, like maybe this could be better. Oh, I see these beautiful things in this person, or oh, we have this, or oh, we have the family, and I've got to keep it together. All the things, and really, it's a way of denying the truth to yourself. Now, if somebody is working hard, I just saw that Ben Taylor came on. I don't know if he's still on, but he's a self-aware narcissist. There's Lee Hammock, and he's mental healness, and he's on IG and also TikTok. These people are on TikTok, and hopefully they'll see us next week. Those are people who are actively working on getting well. They're self-aware, and they are looking at their stuff, and they are committed to making change. But even Lee will say, and Ben, you're still, and Ben will say, you're a narcissist. If you're a narcissist, you're a narcissist. That's not going to change. You can be transparent, you can be open, you can change your behaviors, because with narcissism, what we're describing is a set of behaviors, right? So you can change those behaviors. You might still have the urge to want to do it. I might still have the urge to want to give you the silent treatment and the urge to lie to you, but I'm going to make different choices. Does that make me not narcissistic? No, but it does make me a better person. It makes me, you know, more engaged in reality and healthier. So those things can change.
Right.
But look, that means that someone has to identify and recognize, I am doing something wrong. I am an abuser, and I am going to do these things to change. And are there many people who really come to that like in a valid way? Not really. A lot of people go to therapy to please their partner, and they'll go to therapy to gaslight their therapist.
That's
You know?
to learn.
Yes, to learn,
Yes.
what to say. And look, and maybe that happens on the TikToks too, where it's like, oh yeah, shit, I didn't think about doing that to my partner. And you know, maybe they're learning stuff to do also. That doesn't mean we shouldn't be aware. It doesn't mean we shouldn't speak about this. This is really, really important. And what we need to do is empower victims to take care of themselves and escape toxic relationships.
Yeah. Okay. So that goes to a question that also flew by that Chris handed me. What can you do to relax your mind when constantly defending yourself? So say you're still in a relationship with one of these.
Oof. I mean, that's really hard. You know, one person put it to me, like when you're getting, like, for example, like the silent treatment, people say enjoy the peace. But you know, I never could do that. I never could do any of those things that were like,
It doesn't sound like peace to me.
it's not
It
peace.
sounds like a time of like, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do?
Exactly. So, you know, I think the things that we can do, there's, you know, it's hard because it depends on how controlling your partner is, right? But like the idea of self-care and self-love are so, so important. We can do work on ourselves actively while in relationship with a narcissist, while we're maybe waiting to get out, or, you know, there are a lot of people that go a long time and just continue to do it. Now, that's not my recommendation. I did it. I mean, I did it for, you know, 16 years. And then, you know, picked up some more narcissists along the road as I went on my journey through hell. But saying, so hopefully what you're doing is you're working on yourself. You're yoga, you're doing meditation, you're documenting, because that's really important to remember what you've lived, because a lot of times we forget, we romanticize. So all of those things are important. I think the meditation, breathing exercises, all different things, mirror work, telling yourself, like, I know this is a little woo woo, and I'm not woo woo at all, but it is important. You know, we obviously sometimes we have a negative self-tape that's really horrible. Look in the mirror, tell yourself, I'm strong, I'm confident, I can get through this, I'm okay, everything is going to be okay.
Yeah. You know, you made me think of something that we tell our people to do, especially when they're dealing with the legal stuff, is they have their own personal message on a Post-it note that we'll come up with. And a lot of times it's simple, but like, I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Or like, I know that I know the truth.
Exactly.
You know, but just because we forget it, like all the stuff that they're dealing with false allegations. Oh, Chris is saying the word yet.
Yeah.
Wait, this hasn't happened yet.
Yes.
I haven't had my chance to speak yet. That's like a big thing.
Right.
But things to like to sort of like ground us in reality. You know, you're hearing all this stuff. We know the other person is manipulative. We know in legal system, you're dealing with opposing counsel that lies and bullies you. And it's like hard to remember like what actually matters. You know, somebody had also said in the comments that they went to a support group behind their ex's back to get them a bit stronger.
Yeah.
I know, I also started, I mean, we had tried couples counseling like multiple times. That was a disaster, but I started seeing a trauma therapist, and that was helpful to start getting me stronger as well. I mean, it was a lot of things, but that was one thing that helped because again, somebody who can sort of affirm your reality instead of just your partner denying it.
Right. Someone's asking about the support groups too. And I am considering doing a support group, like a Zoom, like coaching support group, and like lower fees so that people can actually do it. Because I know a lot of people have been, you know, whether there is financial abuse in your relationship or what have you, like, you know, being able to do a support group for people who maybe need that. So I am considering starting that, and I'll post about it when I decide to do that.
And you'll share with me and we'll post about it and all of that.
Yeah.
All right. So well, Rebecca, why don't you tell where people could find you? And then of course we'll be back on together next week, but I'm getting hungry and I usually meet my dad for lunch on Thursdays. So.
Oh my, I know. I feel like you and I could talk forever.
We can. There's so many topics.
Well, not only
help us if I get on the call.
Oh, Chris just said, in heaven help us if he gets on the call because he is super chatty as well.
Oh, I love that. I mean, and also I just think we vibe really well. Like,
we do.
So I feel like it's just, we could talk forever. Anyway, so in terms of finding me, there's my Instagram, which is Rebecca_Ishida. And I don't know if I think people can see it there, right? It's REBECCA _Ishida, ISHIDA. And then on TikTok, it's at Rebecca Ishida. So a larger TikTok following than I do IG. I really want to reach more people with Instagram. So I love that we're doing this. And then my website is in my bio on Rebecca Ishida on Instagram.
Okay. And people are still asking if this recording is going to be preserved. Yes. As soon as we finish, I'm going to take a few minutes and post it directly to our feed. But Rebecca's name and her Instagram account is going to be in there too.
And I think I can do that too, right? I mean, I'm not lives. I think once it ends, I can save it, right? And
you can save it. I think on a laptop, you can also copy the link and then do whatever you want with it, like repost it.
Okay, maybe you're gonna have to help me with that, Lisa, because I don't.
Chris can do that. He's the tech person. I'm the talk. Well, we're both the talkers, but yeah, I like to do the interviews.
Chris can send the link to me because I have no idea. So.
Okay, Chris will do it. Okay, he'll do it.
Yeah.
All right.
This was really wonderful. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I can't wait to talk again on Tuesday. Yeah.
So again, everybody, Tuesday on Rebecca's TikTok, 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Yay! Awesome.
All right.
All right.
See you soon.
Talking to you. Okay.
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 Bye.